Good afternoon and welcome. This is AFRISPECTIVE, the fresh and trending perspective on African politics. My name is Oluwayemisi Olorunwunmi, and I will be moderating this caucus with my friends and colleagues. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, hello, I'm Akosua Bekoe.
And I'm Muhammed Musah.
And this is AFRISPECTIVE. So the first thing on the agenda is the NAS budget. So that's the National Assembly's budget. And some people have been calling them a nasty group of politicians because of the information that was released. So since found out last week that about 9 million, so technically 8.4, is being spent on the wardrobe for these senators. How do you all feel about that?
I mean, first of all, I'd just like to remind our viewers that it's not only the wardrobe allowance that's outrageous, $9 billion for wardrobe. I mean, what do you need it for? What? And the thing is, they're not even supporting African designers. The money is going straight to Europe, to Louis Vuitton and his friends. But the wardrobe allowance is outrageous. The furniture allowance is outrageous. The car loan is outrageous. And to hell, they even get a house. That's outrageous too. There's so much. And the fact that Nigerian lawmakers are among the highest paid in the world is completely outrageous. They make more than UK lawmakers.
They do.
But the average Nigerian doesn't make as much as the average British person. Nigerian lawmakers are making over 50 times that of their average constituent, and that's something to be angry about.
No, it's absolutely insane. Like, you know, as you said, Nigerian lawmakers are making the most out of any, like, what are they doing? What are they doing for our people? At the end of the day, I say end of the day all the time, but really, at the end of the day, what are they doing for us? Are they turning the lights on in Nigeria? Are they giving us the fresh water that we need? Are they allowing us to have jobs when we come out of university?
So I think someone has been talking about is Senator Ben Bruce, who represents the Bayelsa State Senatorial District. And he is someone who is a media mogul. He's the Silver Group chairman. And he also has a very prominent Twitter account. And so he basically went on Twitter and he made all these tweets about how he's very interested in anti-corruption and fighting an anti-materialistic platform for Congress people. And that's something that he talked about when he ran for this senatorial position, was that he wanted government to be a place where public servants would mirror the financial situation of the people they were serving. But then a lot of people, because Twitter is such an active and useful thing now, many people went on Twitter, Nigerian youths, we thank God, went on Twitter and they were attacking Ben Bruce because of his anti-performance. And some of the tweets were actually very, very ridiculous. People were basically, I guess, coming at his life is the best way to put it. And his response was basically that he cannot stand on his own in politics. And he said, "I may not be Muslim, but I respect Islam, and I believe that it is wrong for me to respond to any attack during the holy month of Ramadan." So that was one of his excuses for not having done anything, not having said anything. And it's a little bit ridiculous. I know that Ramadan is being celebrated right now by a lot of individuals. So do you think it's justified that he said that?
No, it's insane. My fasting soul burns when I hear that. You know, you can't be, as a senator, I know that, you know, Ben Bruce just came into office. He needs to take his position seriously. I know that he gave his allowance to Osun workers.
Thank you for that.
And, you know, I know that, like, you know, he wants to make a change. He's you know, a former media mogul, and he's promised to, you know, make a change and fight corruption. But I think that it's important that he realizes the things that he says has a big bearing on, like, people, and they hear it. Like, people hear it. Like, and when I heard it, it was the first day of Ramadan, and I was just like, my hungry self in the middle of the day, I was just like, why? Yeah. Why are you gonna do this to me? It's outrageous. You're a leader. Be a leader.
I think we also need a little bit more context to the Bruce George story. A lot of people actually think he was making a mockery. Now, before he tweeted the thing, the Ben Bruce, I keep calling him Bruce George, like, why? Ben Bruce, yeah, there's no Bruce George, it's Ben Bruce. Before he made the tweet at Ramadan, he tweeted, first of all, a lot of people were angry, they tweeted out, they were like, why are you doing this? And then he tweeted out and said, I'm gonna donate my wardrobe allowance to the Osun State workers. And Osun State workers haven't received their pay for 7 months. But he's also a senator of Bayelsa, and I believe Bayelsa needs a little help too. So a lot of people thought that he was making his donation was a political move. And so the governor of Osun, Aregbesola, stepped out and made some comments. And that was his response, that I won't respond to any of my attacks because it's the holy month of Ramadan.
Yeah.
And with the greater context, a lot of people just felt that he was ridiculing the situation and it was unfair. In fact, Governor Aregbesola called it wicked and ungodly to play with the livelihoods of people.
He said, yeah, he turned... Aregbesola felt that Ben Bruce was turning the plight of Nigerian workers into this entertainment, into a thing of entertainment. And they said that it was trivializing to make a salary issue affecting more than half the states in the Nigerian Federation such a trivial matter, that it completely was not all right for Ben Bruce to just offer up his salary, and it in some ways was insulting.
Yeah, but the guy is a very interesting guy. In fact, I was going through his Twitter page and I was just dying with laughter. Like, he's a very amusing guy. I understand how he made his money in the media industry. So at least I please, Ben Bruce, I beg, keep your Twitter profile very active. I like looking at it.
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, another politician that's active on Twitter is Shehu Sani. But Shehu Sani is someone who's, just like Ben Bruce, was newly elected, and he's come into office with a serious, a serious agenda to fight, some of the corruption and inequality that are happening, that's happening, in the things like the allowances and the budget. If you look at it, he was an activist in his past. So like, if you really, you'll see the actions that are happening. Like, as soon as the Senate comes back into power, you're gonna see that Shehu Sani is gonna be leading the charge against cutting down these allowances and making sure that things are more fair.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that he tweeted out, because a lot of people were tweeted at him, he says that there are 109 senators, so everyone tweet at your representatives, put fire on them, so that we can really get something and some accountability going on. Because it's not enough for us to just tweet out our Ben Bruce and Shehu Sani. There are 107 more people to tweet at, including Saraki. So please, fire them. Fire them.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, because everybody has a representative, and our jobs as citizens is to elect those representatives, and more so to come after them when they don't do the things that they promise. So I think Twitter is a great platform. You can also show up at their doorstep, at their house, start a riot somewhere. That would be really good. So I think we can definitely move on to other troubles. I know some things are happening in Ghana. So if you could speak on that, Muhammad.
So in Ghana, basically the IMF has recently announced that Ghana is going to be a highly indebted poor country very soon. The debt to GDP ratio needs to be 70% to be considered in the HIPC, and basically we're at 67% right now. And Ghana is owing $20 billion. 20 billion US dollars to numerous governments all over the world, and it's very sad and very scary, especially as a Ghanaian, to see the fact that our funds, like everything that we've worked very hard to create, is being destroyed in front of our eyes. The Vice President, Amisa Arthur, I feel like everything that he does, like he's going to places like Dakar, Senegal, and saying things to Titans like we need $15 billion over the next 10 years to fix infrastructure. But like when you look at what's going on in the country, when you look at the Dumsor problems, and you look at the inability to just educate people in the country, you're seeing that we need to like just stop embezzling the money that we're asking for. We're just going around being a basket case, and it's not right.
Yeah, and Ghana actually also just stepped out of HIPC about 8 years ago with the underneath the Kufuor administration. After Rawlings went off, Kufuor really stepped in, got our finances straight, and now that Kufuor is over, the people after him, they have just destroyed the economy. They have just totaled everything. And in fact, one very, very lazy foreign affairs minister, in response to this story, said that Ghanaians need to stop worrying and start thinking positive thoughts. What kind of wahala is this? Start thinking positive thoughts. It's positive thoughts, the one that would cure this epic. Ghana is already 67% debt to GDP ratio, and we have 3% more. Analysts are predicting that by the end of the year, Ghana would be a hippie country.
Easily.
And that's absolutely ridiculous.
And the thing is, like, the Ghana's deputy finance minister Mona Korte is saying that Ghana will not go into HIPIC. What are you doing right now to convince us of that?
She's lying. She's not doing anything. Does she even understand what HIPIC is?
No, she
That's such a good question.
Does she understand? I
think
beg,
the
if you
most-
know, tweet at me.
The most shocking thing I found while researching this was that Ghana, the economic growth is going to be the worst that it's ever been in 20 years. And so I know with the catastrophes that they had last week with the fire and the flood, and even what we are discussing right now, it's just very, very ridiculous that no one's really stepping up to say anything. Like the vice president, where's the president, I guess? Is he addressing these matters?
Does he understand these matters is a better
That's
question.
such a... Thank you for that.
I mean, hopefully, you know, some of the youth like Francisca Oteng Mensah, who unseated, you know, an incumbent in her area, will, you know, address these issues, because the guys, these old men that will be dying when we become adults, aren't caring about that. They're just you know, all about their own coffers and how their families are going to be when they're gone. So
Yeah, she unseated an incumbent at the very young age of 22.
22.
And inspiring, like that's
22.
goals. That's goals to me.
Yeah.
But another hot topic on the African continent this week is Bashir. Omar al-Bashir, the head of state of North Sudan. He was at the AU meeting in South Africa this weekend, where and a South African court issued a mandate saying that the government was required to arrest him because South Africa is a part of the ICC, which is the International Criminal Court. But luckily, Bashir is very slick, and Bashir just run away from that country.
Yeah,
He's now
very
chilling in
quickly.
Khartoum. The reason why the ICC wanted to arrest Bashir is for war crimes, and usually the atmosphere towards the ICC tends to be that the ICC, most of the crimes that they investigate
Are only African crimes,
countries,
which
African
is very
crimes.
skewed. If I
Which
say
is very
so
wrong,
myself.
because, you know, President Bush, if the ICC was real, like, I'm sorry, like, President Bush, even Obama, like, the countries like the US, like, they would never be investigated by the ICC, and they're the ones who are really, like, I mean, I'm not gonna claim this, but a survey done a couple years ago, it surveyed people all over the world, and over 90% of the entire world said the US is the greatest threat to world peace. So this is a sentiment that people in the world feel. But to the ICC's defense, a lot of African countries do end up recommending themselves for investigation. So we can't completely like blame the ICC. But this is totally an embarrassment to the ICC. It shows that they have no backbone. Like,
But I think
they have no ability.
what you're saying is right, that they're biased. They're completely excluding Western countries. They're excluding Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries. They're excluding a lot of places that should be having these investigations. And Africans should not be the target. I mean, I'm sure there's some things going on that are illegal and some things that our politicians do, but it can't just be horizontally or vertically biased towards the African continent.
But are you
sometimes
saying that it's okay that Bashir was we can like just leave him because he's African and
I'm saying he's a
Africans are
smart
being
man. Ran away.
overly,
No, I think
accused and things like
everyone.
that.
I mean, maybe the ICC just doesn't have enough body power to be chasing after everybody, but I definitely think that it isn't okay for it to be skewed towards Africa, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it should be. We need it. We need to be investigated. We need things to be set right and set correct. But the U.S. definitely has a lot of instances, all our war crimes, all those undercover things we do that no one really talks about in history lessons, like in the classrooms.
Drones.
But like
Yeah.
we're treating. African leaders are treating their own citizens the wrong way, and they're not allowing their citizens to grow. So like, I feel like the injustices that African leaders are doing to their own people is worse than President Obama or like some of these other leaders
You bring
you're
up a
talking
good point.
about.
Let me stop you right there. What I think is really important, let's talk about citizen on citizen injustices.
Citizen on citizen
injustices. So basically, we all know what's been happening this entire week in South Carolina, and I'm gonna let you start off, girl, because I just have so
Charleston,
many.
Black
so many
Lives
thoughts.
Matter is a cause that's very dear to my heart. So over the past week in South Carolina, Charleston, a group of people in a historic African American church. You know, the reason why they had to have an African American church is because black people in this country historically weren't allowed to peacefully worship with white Christians, even though it's supposedly the same God, the same one. But recently, a small boy called Dylan Roof, he walked into a South Carolina African American church, where a state senator was also the pastor. And he worshipped with them for over an hour, and after that, he shot 9 people. 9 people died, and 3 others were injured. And one little 5-year-old girl had to play dead, so she does not get killed. She played dead. A 5-year-old girl played dead. And the senator who died is Clementa Pinckney. May he rest in peace. And something that completely pisses me off about the coverage regarding this is a lot of media outlets were calling it tragedy has visited a South Carolinian church. But this is a terrorist attack.
Thank you.
And we should call it by what it is.
Exactly.
And the thing is, this isn't the first time that a black church or a black institution or black people have been attacked in America. Recently, something that's been making a lot of headlines is the way police in America police bodies of color. Every 23 hours in the country of the free, or whatever they like to call it, a black man is killed by police. It's a fact. Recently, Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy playing with a toy gun, was shot under 4 seconds when he encountered the cop. The cop just put a bullet to him. He died. Another instance like Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, like the names are endless.
Garner.
The names are endless. Recently, even kids at the pool, the cop came and the way they attacked the kids, they were sitting on the kids. There's video evidence, but would they even, like, these cops don't even go to trial?
I think the better question is, does video evidence even mean anything in this day and age? Clear footage of someone doing something to somebody else, does that mean anything? Because I very much don't think it does.
Yeah, recently cops put 30 rounds in a car, and none of them they all walked away. 2 people died, 30 rounds in a car. What more evidence do you need? What more evidence do you need? Like, I'd like to say that Dylan Roof did not act alone, but he acted with hundreds of years of U.S. history and U.S. law on his side. He's the terrorist, and we should call him as that. And America is a country where the black ethnic minority is violently oppressed. But the oppression of black people does not just happen in America. It's all over the world. Another issue that's been at the forefront lately is Haiti, Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic recently, a couple of years ago, this started a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, they passed a law that pretty much took away the citizenship of people born as far back as 1929. If you didn't have Dominican parents, then documents, legal documents, then you pretty much were just kicked out. And the Dominican-Haiti relationship has a very racial connotation. Haiti is a country with mostly black people. Dominican has more of a mixed Spanish heritage. And Haiti also, the history of Haiti matters because Haiti was the first black colony to get independence. And there was a lot of conniving and trade embargoes placed on Haiti to prevent it from thriving and prospering. So Haiti has been left a very economically impoverished state, and recently with the earthquake, it's gotten even worse. So now there's over 500,000 people in
But I think there's more history that we don't know about.
Oh yeah,
so the many massacres that have happened in Haiti, the Parsley massacre in 1937, just because of this tension between Dominicans and Haitians.
Oh no, the Parsley massacre. Almost 30,000 people died. Estimated as much as 30,000 Haitians. And this was an order that came down from the Dominican president to kill down 30,000 Haitians. This was only 1937. So this anti-blackness within the Dominican Republic has always happened, and now 500,000 people are going to be pretty much thrown out of the country. As even someone who's 86-year-old who was born there. Also, the thing is, a lot of the Haitians in the Dominican Republic, they don't have legal documents because they are born on plantation farms and they are born in ghettos, so they don't have these documents. And
sometimes it's not even just Haitians; it's Dominicans themselves
who just happen to be black.
People who just happen to have darker skin than the Dominicans that live in the country.
So I guess the question that we ask now is, what do we do? Where do we go from here? do we just keep talking about it? What is there action that can be made? What can lawmakers do? What can citizens do themselves? What can mothers and fathers do themselves?
Do you have an answer to that?
No, I want to know what you guys have to say because you guys know so much about it. I want to hear what you guys have to say because I'm asking the question because I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Because everybody, I feel like our society, we see this problem, but we don't know how to respond to it. We the riots don't really work because the media has such a monopoly on like what the narrative really is, and like we act, and then 5 people can look like 500 to the whole world.
That's
so
true.
what do we do?
I think South Africa is a good example of some of this. So in South Africa, since April and March, there's been a numerous amount of xenophobic attacks to African migrants that are living in South Africa. And this week, the Nigerian Union just recently reported more attacks on Nigerians and foreigners in that country. And it's so strange to me because people think that racism is only something that happens in America, is only something that's prevalent here, but it's horizontally spread across the entire world. And I think the only reason that the xenophobic attacks stop is because of condemnation for the rest of the world. So what I think it's necessary for the international scene, like when they have all these G7, G6, when they have these meetings across the world, for them to talk about this, because it's not an American thing only, if you understand what I'm saying. So I think that some backlash from individuals in other countries, backlash, celebrities tweeting at presidential people, individuals tweeting at their senators. But I think the riots are also important. You disregarded them, but I think that when people stand up for things that they think are important, when people stop traffic, when people are in the street, it most definitely makes a difference.
First of all, I really want to push back on the use of the word riot in this instance because most of what goes on are protests, which are constitutionally protected. Not riots. Riots is a small subset of all the protests that happen. And also, I'd like to try to answer your question. For me, my way of going about it, I think we should call an economic boycott on the Dominican Republic. People shouldn't be
boycott too.
No tourism in Dominican Republic.
Don't go
pressure
over
your
there.
Governments to make statements. Pressure your governments to put trade embargoes on the country.
Exactly.
It's despicable to try to deport 500,000 people who've actually lived in that country for a long time simply because of the color of their skin.
And I think it doesn't matter if you're a South Carolina native or not. You need to stand up and you need to speak up, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'd also like to tie back, like, anti-blackness is so prevalent in the world, like from South Carolina to the Dominican Republic to South Africa to even Israel and like Malaysia, like for how much, I saw one tweet that really captured it, for how much anti-blackness is in the world, you would think that we invaded the world and colonized it and then enslaved people or something. Like, come on, man. Like,
I think for me, the bottom line is that the violence against people of color is foundational in the world's structure, and it stems from colonialist sentiments. And unfortunately, that's the only time that we have to talk about these things today.
I have to ask one question.
What's your question?
What's keeping you up at night?
Ooh.
What's keeping me up at night?
What is
Think on
keeping you
that.
up at night?
Thank you very much for tuning in with us. This has been Afro Perspective, and we will see you next week.
Have a